Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the Dr. Dan on Wellbeing webinar. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. Should you wish to ask an audio question at any time, please press the star followed by the 1 on your telephone. You may also enter questions at any time throughout the webinar by using the chat feature located in the lower left corner of your screen. If you need to reach an operator at any time, please press star 0. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Wednesday, September 7th, 2016. I would now like to turn the conference over to Julie Lubinsky. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Julie Lubinsky. I am the web manager for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, and I'd like to welcome you all today to Dr. Dan on Wellbeing. And let me let you in on who Dr. Dan is. He is a practicing psychologist and therapist with more than 40 years of experience. He's best known as the host of Voices in the Family, which is a weekly radio program heard on WHYY-FM and Philadelphia's NPR affiliate. And he's also the author of 6 books, including The Wisdom We're Born With. And you can find Dr. Dan in our community, in our online community at christopherreeve.org/Dr. Dan in his Dr. Dan on Wellbeing section of our online community, paralysis community. And now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Dan to get us started today. Hi, Dan.
Hey, Julie. How are you?
I am doing very well today, thank you.
Ask me how I am.
How are you, Dr. Dan?
I'm miserable.
Oh. Well, that was a letdown.
We're past Labor Day.
Yeah,
I love summers. And summer has trickled through our fingers. That's why I'm miserable. Other than that, I'm good. I think I might have lost Julie as soon as I said I was miserable.
I'm here.
Awesome. I thought you hung up and ran away. So, other than that, I'm good. Like I said, I'm happy and I am healthy in that order for the moment. So, things are good with me. How about you, Julie?
I'm doing very well. I'm okay with the changing of the seasons. I enjoy actually the changing of the seasons. So. Not looking forward to the bitter cold, but also looking forward to getting away from this heat wave we seem to be having in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So listen, just be honest with me, Julie. Do you think that's a weird question? What's your relationship like with your body?
Absolutely not.
Really? So, you're the first guinea pig. What's your relationship like with your body?
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. So, you mean literally love? Tell me what you love. Tell me what you hate.
As most, I'm not happy with my weight, and I don't like that, but I do appreciate like my teeth and my eyes, and that I can see and taste and hear. Those aren't body so much, but I do like the color of my eyes.
Well, it's what happens. I don't know if this is true with you, Julie, and that is, when we're young, we mostly ignore our bodies. It's just there at our service. We ignore it, as I would imagine almost all kids do, unless they're born with, a disability or some kind of deformity. So we mostly ignore our bodies, but as soon as something goes wrong with it, we pay attention. And what we do when something goes wrong with it is we do what several people in the poll have indicated. I put this fairly simple, straightforward poll up there, describe your relationship with your body. And 3 people said they resent it. 1 person said they hate the demands it makes. And 1 person said, I feel grateful for what it does for me. So we resent it. And I would imagine those people represent most of the people who have disabilities or take care of loved ones who have disabilities. We resent our bodies. I remember, Julie, early on, I used to pound my legs with my hands, just out of anger for my body, for my spasms, for all of it. I used to pound my legs in hatred for my body. And after that, I just got depressed at what this body wouldn't do for me. I resented it. And I think that's why I used that word. I resented my body. But that's changed over time. And I think with age. So, Julie, do you remember a time when you didn't have a love-hate relationship with your body, when you were okay with it?
Maybe in high school.
Can I guess high school and before?
Yes.
Yeah. And then things changed.
Yes.
Because, especially high school, you wanted that body to look as good, if not better, than the other girls. And it just didn't.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what happens. And that's what our rage is about. You know, those of us with visible or invisible disabilities. It's exactly the same thing, Julie, your weight and our bodies. I mean, we're angry because it doesn't do what everybody else does, what we think it should do, what you think it should look like. And we get angry at it for that reason, because it's not functioning the way we need it to function. It's functioning the way it is. So we get angry, and you know what resentment does to one's body, or anger, or disdain. I mean, it's poison going through the veins. It's literally poison that goes through our veins. So that makes everything worse, right? It adds to our stress. It adds to our resentment. It adds to our self-loathing, and it adds to our self-pity. So what are our options, really? I mean, geez, my body hasn't changed much in almost 37 years. Now, if anything, it's gotten worse. You know, my skin is thinner. I'm more at risk for skin breakdown. My bladder is weaker. The walls are thinner. I get infected more, and so on and so forth. My spasms are worse. And yet, I don't resent it anymore. When I think about all this body has put up with over all these years, my God, I feel so grateful to it for what it's allowed me to do, to be right here, you know, with all my friends listening in, to be here with you, Julie. You know, this is, my body gets credit for this. Now, you know, I'm one of the lucky ones that I can be here, you know, talking with you, sitting in front of my computer and doing what I do. But there are many who don't, who can't because of their body. We've got somebody listening, and I don't want to mention his or her name because I haven't gotten permission yet. But if it is okay to mention your name, and you know who I'm talking about, please just say so in the chat room. Anyway, this person says that they spend their days in a recliner staring out the window, thinking about death all the time. And that person says so many tears and so much pain. Well, what do you do with a body like that won't allow you to get up and function, and you have to live in pain? What do you do with that body? Is there ever a way you can be okay with that body, with that life? Well, that brings us to a whole other issue here. And that is, the poll I just brought up. How would you describe your relationship with yourself? I would say to this person, we'll just say this person. I would say to this person, you can change your relationship with the person that sits in that recliner, to the person that seems to suffer all day. Because what we have here is, you probably are a good person. I doubt if you've ever intentionally harmed anyone, although we all do inadvertently. I doubt if you've ever wanted to really hurt someone. You're a good person. And if you're like most other humans, you've tried to do the right thing almost all your life. You're a good person. Now, can you change your relationship with that good person? Can you begin to feel compassion for that good person who's sitting in that chair, who's suffering with pain, who's suffering with depression or anger or resentment? I've said in this discussion before, I don't know if you've got any family, but what would you do if that was your child experiencing suffering like you do? Or any child, or a stranger, me. What would you do for a child that can't get out of the chair, that feels pain all the time, that cries all the time? What would you do for that child? And I don't want to read your mind, but if you're like most humans, and Julie, you're like most humans.
I hope so.
Yeah. What would you do for that child suffering like that? You know, don't you? Your heart would break.
Yeah.
Just like yours. Your heart would break. You'd want to put your arms around that child. And I got to tell you that if I was there with you, the person who wrote in, if I was there with you, I'd probably just want to sit with you, to listen to you, to hold your hand. Maybe just hang out, talk about what's important in your life, in my life, about how we see the world, about what we want for future generations. But mostly to sit with you in your pain and feel this great kindness and compassion for you. And I have a feeling you would do that for me. I know Julie would. And I would do that for her. So could you do that? Could you do that for you? Start right there. This is a whole person sitting in that recliner. A whole person with a good heart sitting in that recliner. What would you do for that good person? You're not just pain. You're not just disabled. You're not just helplessness or crippled or whatever you want to call yourself. You are not. You're a person who suffers. And I would argue, Julie, you too. Your body suffers. You know, when we're overweight or underweight, the body suffers. And nobody wakes up in the morning or in high school and says, gee, I think I want to be overweight, or I think I want to be a drug addict, or I think I want to be depressed. You know, we have the bodies we have. And in an ideal world, yeah, they would change. You know, you'd get out of your armchair, and Julie, you would drop all the weight you wanted to lose. But for now, can we feel kindness towards the bodies we have? Those bodies didn't do anything to us. All they've done is try to keep us alive. That's all they've done. They didn't hurt us. They didn't put weight on us. All they're doing is trying to keep us alive. Keep us alive. And now this person says to me, I would love and hug that child. That's what I feel all the time. My family resents me. Then he goes on to say, why do I feel I need love and hugs all the time? I never did before. I don't know. You know, we all feel we need hugs and love when we suffer. You know, the Dalai Lama said, all humans suffer. We all suffer. We all want well-being, and we all want love in our lives. We want to receive love, and we want to give love. That's something we all have in common. No matter who we are, no matter what we do, whether we're behind bars or on the other side, we all have that in common. We want love. And when we're hurting, we want it even more. You know, I want somebody who cares. I don't want somebody who has answers for me. I mean, that's for down the pike. I want somebody who sits with me and cares, who loves me, despite my body, my pain, despite if I'm overweight or underweight or contorted, who loves me anyway. Who loves me anyway. You know, I'm in a relationship now with a wonderful woman, and as I age, I get more tired, and I get more weak, and I get less able to keep up, and I can, you know, the ego says the same thing that you guys are saying. I'm not good enough for her, she's going to leave me, yada, yada. You know, the stories we tell ourselves. And yet it's not true. It's not true. She loves me. Yes, she might get angry about the truth in both our lives, or frustrated, or hurt, or sad, or depressed. But that's that doesn't affect love. That doesn't affect love. And, I want to tell you that you are capable of great love, of giving great love. I know that just because of what you said. You said you would love and hug that child. That's what you feel. You would love and hug that child. So you are capable of offering love. And the more love you offer yourself, the world, a stranger, a relative, a friend, a pet, the more love you offer someone or something else, the more love you will feel. It doesn't matter what direction it goes in. So I would challenge you. You said you need love and hugs all the time. I would challenge you to therefore love all the time. Turn on the TV and look at a face and find a way to love that face, knowing that person suffers, wants well-being, and needs love. You can always find people, living beings to love, including yourself. And that changes your body chemistry more than anything else. I know from experience that when I first felt compassion for someone else, it began to change. This is right after my accident. And I realized I could be of service in the world. My life could have meaning and value. So we've got a comment from Laura. I feel like with that suffering, I would end up lying to that child to make them feel better. That's why I have such a hard time. Laura, I wish you could say more about that, or maybe even call in if you can. I don't understand the connection. Why do you have such a hard time? I wonder. Well, I don't quite understand. So if you can't call in, Laura, will you please, write in about why? Julie, do we have anybody on the phone?
Yeah, Allison, do we have anybody on the phone that wants to speak?
What is it, *1, Julie?
Yes.
Correct. *1 to ask a question or comment, and there are none at this time.
There's none at this time. Okay, thank you.
So, could you do this for me? The person I spoke to, or Laura, or all of you, please type in here in this message box, on our chat line. Why did you come today? And tell me what you would like. I'm really not good at lecturing. I'm not comfortable with it. I feel like I'm preaching. And I don't even like when preachers preach. They're boring. So, Joel?
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts or reactions to what I was talking about just now?
I think it's hard to get yourself out of a funk by yourself. I hear that person when he says he just feels like he wants hugs all the time. And I think you need others around you, and sometimes people sometimes I've found, they want to fix things, but sometimes you just need a hug.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Laura, you came back. Thank you. So let's see what you have to say, Laura. I have a hard time because I don't know how to love myself. But I would want that child to believe it's possible to eventually find comfort in oneself. So I'll be honest with you, Laura. I think the idea of loving oneself or loving myself is a little uncomfortable for me. But what's more comfortable is compassion, just kindness towards myself. Or if you can feel kindness towards that child, even if you can feel helplessness towards that child, that's an act of compassion. That's an act of compassion. That's a way of saying, you suffer, I suffer right now. Compassion, the Greek for compassion, it's based on co-passion, which means to feel together. To feel together. So if you were to go to that child and say nothing and have your eyes well up with tears, or to say, as somebody said to me, a cousin, years ago, I don't know what to say, and his eyes welled up with tears, that's compassion. And could you imagine doing that for yourself, Laura? Right now, I suffer. If you could say that to yourself in all sincerity, even put your hand over your broken heart and say, right now, I suffer. I feel. I suffer. I need care. That's all. I need care. And put that loving hand of yours over your heart. So Laura said, I finally found peace with myself and body before my accident. Now that seems so far away. Nah, not so far away. It's in there. You know, I remember when I was a kid, there was a marinara sauce called Ragu. I don't even know if it's still in the market. Do you know, Julie?
Yeah, of course it's still on.
Okay, all right. I wouldn't know because one of the beauties of being a quadriplegic is I send my nurses shopping for me, so I don't have to do that. So anyway, there's this Ragu. And, you know, the commercial's a little old lady is reading the jar, and it says, you know, meat and tomatoes and garlic. And so she says to the clerk, well, where is it? I don't see meat in there. And he says, it's in there. She says, so where's the tomato? And then she says, so where's the garlic? And he says, it's in there. It's all in there. Everything's in there. And so, Laura, with you, you know, that peace you found with yourself and your body, you know, it's like Ragu. It's in there. It's still in there. Peace is in there. Kindness is in there. Joy is in there. We're born with it. It's in there. It's just a question of getting through the scar tissue and the fear and the defenses that cover it up. It's all in there. Look, you heard what Julie and I talked about. And Julie, if you don't mind my using you for an example.
No, go right ahead.
Julie had joy in there, happiness with her body, delight with her body. And then all of a sudden, it went away. She started resenting her body. But that joy is still in there. That contentment, that happiness, that abandon is still in there. It's just invisible. We can't we can't feel it so much. So, Laura, a lot of this is about faith. And not faith in a higher power. Although, if you have that, it helps. But, faith that everything you need is in there already. That's why the title of my last book, The Wisdom We're Born With, it's all in there. And it's just a question of accessing it once again. Laura, kindness, love, it's in there. You had it there once. It doesn't go away. So I invite you to try to have faith that it's in there. I spent, Julie and Laura and anybody listening, I grew up in Atlantic City. And I spent, the last couple of weeks down there. My parents left me an oceanfront apartment. And I got to watch the ocean. Well, we had that storm up the East Coast this past week, and I got to watch it. And that ocean that I loved so much was gray and dark and angry, and the waves were pulling in all sorts of different directions, and it was threatening. And I watched that knowing that in a few days it was going to look like a lake again. Knowing that a week after that it might look like this again. But when I watched that angry ocean, I had faith that it was going to look like a lake again. I just knew it. Like I have faith that love and kindness and goodness is in there. Whether I can feel it or not, I have faith that it's in there. And I would suggest for you to think about that. Your body hasn't done anything to you. It's been broken. It's been broken, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's what happened to us. And by and large, it's nobody's fault. It could be a drunk driver, or in my case, a defective wheel, and so on and so forth. But for most of us, all of us, we're victims of chance, whether it's a birth defect or a genetic defect or an accident or an illness. We're victims of chance. We've done nothing wrong. So, Laura, without being able to do the things I loved before, it's hard to be happy with my life. I can be happy in fine moments, but it's not long term. It all seems temporary. Yeah, we can't do what we did before. If I may, I hope I can do this without screwing everything up. I'd like to read a poem, if I may, if I can find it. Stick with me, team. I'll get there. You with me, Julie?
Absolutely.
Can you do some entertaining while I'm clicking my little button?
Sure. Just want to remind everybody that they can call in. There's still a chance to call in to speak to Dr. Dan, and also you can continue to type in the chat box. And want to remind you as well, are you ready, Dan?
Nope.
Oh, I want to remind you as well to, you can reach Dr. Dan in the community after this webcast too at christopherreeve.org/Dr. Dan, and I'll put that in the chat box.
I got it. Thanks, everybody. So this poem I am reading for Laura and the other gentleman I was addressing. It's a poem written by Ellen Bass, who's an award-winning poet, and also she was my best friend when we were 4 years old. So anyway, so Ellen says, the thing is, that's the name of the poem. She said, the thing is to love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it when grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than lungs. When grief weighs you like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief. You think, how can a body handle this? And then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes. And you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. An obesity of grief. And you say, yes, I will love you again. That's ultimately what we do with our lives, Laura, and everybody listening. That's what we do with our lives. Now, I've been talking more about my age and how my body's weakening. And, I think like most of us, when we've had this kind of trauma to our bodies, we face death. We've tasted it. We've felt it. But now I feel it coming closer and closer. And you know what my primary reaction to it is? Just such deep gratitude for this life that I have, for this body that I've had, for what it's done for me. Such great gratitude. And I feel almost every day, yes, I will love you again. I invite people, and I'm Laura and the other gentleman I was talking to. I invite people to just imagine if at the end of your life you could come back, you could reflect back on your life, and you could say one sentence, what would you say? Julie?
Wow.
Yeah. You're looking back on your life that is gone now. What would you say? Well, while you...
I kind of want to tell myself, in one hand, I want to tell myself something practical, so my life path stays changes or stays the same, like go to the concert. Or on the other hand, I want to tell myself something more profound, like,
well,
it'll work out.
I hate to break this to you, but in this example, you're already dead.
Oh, darn it.
So I'm sorry about that. Sorry to break that news to you. But you're dead now. And you're looking back over what I hope will be a long life. And what do you say? And I thought about that. I got to thinking about this with my dad. My dad was a dear, sweet, loving man. And one of the crankiest humans in the Western Hemisphere. You Google cranky, you'll see my dad's face. So he was getting much older, and we knew there wasn't a lot of time left. Maybe a couple of years. He was in the hospital again for another cardiac problem. And I said to him, Dad, I said, if you could give your life a grade, what would you give it? And he thought for a minute and he said, I'd give it a B minus. And I was thrilled, because he was so cranky. I was thrilled with the B minus. Okay. Fast forward about 6-8 months, and now we're very near the end. And he's sitting in his easy chair in the apartment. And quite spontaneously, he says to me, he says, Danny, he says, I thought about your question. He says, I think I would give it an A. Now, this is a man whose wife died, not unusual, whose daughter died when she was 50 years old, whose son became a quadriplegic when he was 33 years old. This is a life of suffering. And at the end, when the candle's flickering, he says, I'd give it an A. So if you could rate your life right now, what would you give it? What would you say about this life once the light goes out? And I would say, in my life, in my body, what an amazing trip this was. And if I had one more sentence, I would say, may I have a little bit more, please? That's perspective. That's the big picture. Julie, your turn.
B minus.
So there's hope for you.
I can make improvements.
Yeah. Your life would turn into an A if you didn't try so hard to make improvement. That if you grew to feel great about the woman you are, with the body you have, then everything would change. Don't hold out. Don't hold out. I know a lot of people who eat dessert first. We negotiate with our lives, don't we? And I venture to say Randall does and Laura does here. We negotiate, right? I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I lose weight, or when I clean the house, or when I can walk, or when my pain diminishes, or when... Nah. That's a guarantee setup for a lifetime of suffering. Because when might never happen. Might never happen. I want to read something. This gentleman I've been referring to said. He said, I spent 60 days in rehab. Home one day, I spotted a woman much older than me crying. I knew what she needed. When I wheeled over and took her hand and said, it will be all right. She was just starting her journey. I have the will and desire to go back there, but not the means. Well, I want to tell you something about what you've done for me today. And I have a feeling for others listening. And Julia, I'd like you to chime in too. That when you open up that quickly, that early, and talk about your life and your suffering, and you allow yourself to be that open, and man, you saw what it triggered in me, right? Great love and compassion for me. You heard my desire to be with you physically and sit with you. What you have given me by opening your heart is you have given me the gift of compassion. You have given me the gift of being able to open my arms to a fellow human being. So don't believe for a second that you can't do anything from your wheelchair, because you've just given me a gift. I mean, from your lounge chair, because you've just given me a gift, and I venture to say, for everybody else listening today, you've given them a gift. So, you can do this via your computer or via your phone. You can guide people. You can help people. You can teach them what you've learned. I mean, the Christopher Reeve has a peer mentoring program that you might want to look into. Julie, I'm sure you've got the phone numbers and web address for that.
Yep, I put it in the chat box. Thank you.
Because that's what we're hardwired for. All of us are hardwired to help others. That's where we find meaning in our lives. I said, I gave a talk to, a group of psychologists and other mental health professionals. And I said, what an imbalance when I treat my patients. It feels so unfair that they are contributing to the meaning of my life, and all I'm doing for them is offering them therapy. It seems like an imbalance to me that I'm getting much more than I'm giving. So please, do what you've done. Open your heart, reach out. I mean, all of us. Open our hearts. And it's okay. It's important to say, I struggle with this too. I don't have answers. But at this very moment, I don't feel alone in my life with this stuff. I don't feel alone. So I encourage you, please, you and Laura, and everybody else listening, and everybody who has ears, please help your sentient human beings. I saw a bumper sticker on a car, and I'm sure many of you have seen it, about, with a picture of a dog or a dog rescue, and it says, who rescued who? We know that feeling. When we love our dog or cat, whatever pet we might have, how that feels inside. So, damn, I just did it again. I went off to sermonizing again. Julie, you got to control me here.
There's no controlling you, Dan.
You're not the first one that said that. So, in the 5 minutes we have left, I'm just curious if anybody else has any thoughts or reactions to what we've been talking about today.
We do have an audio question from Arthur Owens.
Okay. Arthur?
Arthur, your line is open.
Hello?
Maybe not. Arthur, can you hear us? If you're on mute, unmute your personal line, but your line is open. Oh, bummer.
Oh, yeah, you're not kidding. Well, I want to say this. Julie, I don't know about you, but, we didn't have a lot of participation, but it was quite moving for me. And I've got to, again, express my deep gratitude to Laura and to Randall for what you've opened up and what you've contributed and shared. It's been so very helpful to all of us. Julie, you have any thoughts about time we spent today?
I thought that the topic which did at first seem to be an odd question for you to be asking, but as I thought about it, how deep you can go into that question about how you feel about your relationship with yourself and with your body. And I liked everybody chiming in. And your question about the child, too, kind of made me look, past that initial question to see what I would do and what could make it better.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much. Julie, I always love spending this time with you, but I especially loved your involvement today and your openness. So thank you for that.
You are most welcome, and I appreciate everybody's comments as well.
Me too. So please weigh in on what you would like to talk about next month. I really want to know what's important to you. Okay? So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And you're more than welcome to go to ChristopherReeve.org/DrDan to leave Dan any questions or comments and even suggestions on what we should talk about next month. And definitely join us again next month for another live chat with Dr. Dan. I definitely encourage you to call in and speak with him. As you can tell from this session that it would definitely be really helpful for Dr. Dan to actually hear your voice as well as not only just reading your comments. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today and enjoy the rest of your day.
Please take care.